A Blu-ray. Now that's a Blu-ray.
G'day guys, and welcome back to another video. Some of you might notice in my last video I sort of picked up the American Pie movies, the first three, and I said I was going to do a bit of a review once I'd sort of watched all three of those, and I was going to watch the new American Pie Reunion, which came out in cinemas the other day. So I managed to watch all three of these, the first three, and I watched the reunion yesterday, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have just a bit of a talk about them. Now, I think I might have mentioned before, I'm not necessarily sort of huge fan of sort of teen American comedies. I find them sometimes they can be a bit sort of crass. That's the word I'm looking for. A bit sort of silly and juvenile and stuff. But I think the American Pie movies, and I'm sure a lot of people would sort of agree with me on that, they were sort of, you know, when the first one came out, it was just a massive sort of hit, and it was just a really sort of, you know, well-made movie, and it was just sort of, you know, probably not necessarily a very, you know, very original, you know, type movie. You know, I'm sure that, you know, some of these things have been, you know, had sort of teen comedies and, you know, 70s and 80s and whatever and stuff. But this one was sort of a, you know, sort of a bit of a, I don't know, an update, I suppose. It was still sort of, you know, new and fresh, and you know, definitely worth sort of watching, I guess. Just wanted to hit, it's just like a hit movie that sort of had, you know, great characters and, you know, sort of great, you know, great scenes, and sort of funny, and just, you know, really sort of likeable type sort of movie. So I remember sort of watching it. You know, I was, you know, sort of at that age. You know, I was about their age, and so I could sort of, you know, definitely sort of associate with what they were doing. So yeah, I want to just go quickly through some of the characters, because you got, you know, Stifler, played by, oh geez, I did have this all ready to go, and then I've changed the screen. Where are we? Yeah, you got Sean William Scott playing Stifler. Jason Biggs, Jim, he's sort of the main sort of character. Alison Hannigan playing Michelle. Eddie Kane Thomas playing Paul Finch. Thomas Ian Nichols playing Kevin Myers. Vicky, the character Vicky, played by Tara Reid. Shannon Elizabeth playing the sexy exchange student. Jim's dad, played by Eugene Lovey. Natasha Lyonne playing Jessica. She wasn't in it. I don't know if it's in all the movies. She's not all that. She's a very sort of, you know, don't sort of see her much. Not a very sort of underused character. One of my favourite characters. I don't know why they don't use it more. The Shermanator, played by Chris Charles. He was very sort of funny. He wasn't in it much. Definitely one of the memorable characters from the movie. Then you got my two favourite characters. Heather, played by Mina Silvari, and Chris Klein playing Oz. That's sort of my two sort of main two favourite characters. But essentially, yeah, it's a typical, I don't know, typical storyline, I suppose. I'm sure it's been sort of done before, but essentially the guys sort of make a bit of a pact that they're gonna, they're all virgins, and they sort of make a pact that they're gonna, you know, lose their virginity before, you know, before prom night, or whatever it's gonna be, or on prom night. But yeah, I don't know, it's just a really good sort of movie, and just really sort of funny, and just sort of came out at a time when everyone could just appeal to, you know, what was sort of happening. So that's American Pie. Then you got American Pie 2, which was, I thought was a fairly good sequel, actually. You know, still very funny, and I mean, obviously they, you know, sort of recycled sort of some of the jokes, I suppose, but they sort of build on those jokes, and they're sort of a bit of a sort of throwback, I suppose, to the first movie. It's sort of, you know, similar sort of things happen, but they sort of build on that, and sort of, you know, sort of make it a little bit more funny and stuff like that. So it's definitely a great sort of sequel. I think it was sort of set, I think the sort of year after, they all sort of go, you know, sort of separate at the end of the movie and go off to college, and, you know, different colleges, and so they'll sort of come back, you know, after a year, sort of on, you know, the break, whatever it is, and sort of, you know, meet back up again, a bit of a reunion, I suppose. They sort of rent, I think they rent like a beach house for the summer and just have a sort of throw a big sort of wild party and sort of the couple sort of get back together. They sort of they sort of hooked up in the first movie and then they sort of went their separate ways and now they're sort of back together and they sort of miss each other and they might have new girlfriends or something, but they're sort of it's still their first love, so they're very they still do have sort of feelings for the people. Then you got the third one, which was the wedding. Jim and Michelle get married. This is probably my favourite sort of sequel out of the whole sort of series. The third one. A lot of people sort of found it a bit over the top and sort of a bit silly and a bit crass, and they thought that Stifler was a bit, I don't know, over the top and wasn't himself sort of thing. But I never really sort of noticed that. I always thought Stifler was. This is probably probably the funniest one out of the out of the whole lot. I thought perhaps a little bit a bit silly, I suppose, but I didn't really think it was that bad compared to the other ones. Just had some sort of great scenes, like the wedding, of course, and you had the bachelor party, which was real sort of funny, and you had a scene where Stifler's in a gay bar doing a dance off with some other guy there. That's a really sort of funny scenes. Then you got the chocolate eclair scene, which is just really gross. But that's definitely another. They're all three of them are just really sort of great movies and great sort of sequels as well. Then I think we sort of had, obviously we had the new one, the new Reunion come out. But I think sort of in between, sort of after these three, there were, I think it was like 3 or 4 sort of spin-offs, sort of straight to DVD type sequels, which I think I've seen. What's the Mile, the Green, what's it called? The Naked Mile, I think, which I saw it ages ago, and from what I remember, that wasn't too bad. Not as good as these ones, I suppose, but I think there's like 3 or 4 of those sort of ones, and the Beta High or something, and the Book of Love, and a few other ones that aren't necessarily. I wouldn't say these are sort of like in these. This is sort of separate sort of universe. I don't know. They all star Eugene Levy though. He's in all. I think it's 8 movies all up. I think if you sort of count the new one. So I haven't sort of seen all those ones, but yeah, I went and watched the Reunion yesterday, which I thought was and yeah, I thought that was actually quite a really good movie. I was a bit sort of worried it wasn't going to hold up necessarily to the other 3. Sort of like that's a bit of a throwback to the first one, I suppose. Obviously, it's Reunion. I think it's sort of set 13 years later. I think a lot of people sort of have problems with that. I've read they sort of. Why is it 13 years? It can't be 30 years. That doesn't make sense and stuff. But it's only a movie, man. Jeez. But I don't care. It's 13 years. Who cares? It could be 11, 12. Whatever. But I definitely thought it was a really good movie. Really good sort of throwback to the the first movie, and sort of great to sort of see them. They all came back together again. I think the third one, the wedding, is sort of missing Oz, Kevin Kline, and Heather. I think they were on sort of in Spain. I think in the movie they're off to Spain on some sort of romance thing, and they couldn't sort of make it to Jim's wedding. I think in real life, I've heard 2 stories that some people said that that Oz was asked for too much money. Kevin Kline asked for too much money, and that's why he wasn't in the movie. And then other people have said no, he had like another job. You think he was doing some acting over in London or something, and he couldn't sort of make it. And someone else said no, he had some sort of an alcohol problem, drug and alcohol problem. That's why I couldn't. So I don't know what the reason was for that, but anyway, I'm pretty sure from what I've read that he had some sort of conflict. He was sort of in London working on something else and couldn't sort of make it. Anyway, so definitely, yeah, I thought the fourth movie was really good. Great sort of throwback to the first one, and just sort of great to see all the characters again. And I think it was definitely a great movie. It's probably the worst one out of the whole lot. I think though. I mean, that's not a bad thing though. These movies are really sort of high up on the scale, and it was definitely a great movie. I just found it perhaps a little sort of dipped in the middle. I think a little bit for me, and sort of got a bit up a bit, and then the end was just really sort of a bit too abrupt. had sort of watched another, sort of read and sort of seen a few other reviews, and people reckon it was a bit sort of boring in the start, but I thought it was a lot better in the start, and then it just seemed to sort of drift a little bit in the middle. I thought dipped a little bit. And the end was far too short, and I mean all the characters, they all the characters are in there. You know, everyone from all the first movie and stuff. So they're sort of all born back together, and there's a few sort of cameos on some of the characters, and some of the cameos I think were just too short, and some of sort of the like I once saw Spore, he was very short on screen, but a lot of sort of I felt some of the like, I mean all the main characters are there, but some of the sort of the side characters that are really sort of pretty sort of memorable. You know, they have very sort of short cameos, which was a bit perhaps a little bit disappointed with that. But definitely, I mean, if you're a fan of the American Pie movies, I think it's definitely worth checking out, because it's pretty sort of funny, and just a great sort of movie. Just think what else I'm gonna say. Oh, I've been on the forums a lot, and I don't know, it was perhaps a bit of a rant, I suppose. It's not necessarily about the American Pie movies, but I also find a lot of people just go on forums and they sort of bash the actors, and they want to sort of look up what the actors have done, from their time from doing the first American Pie movie to now, and they say, oh, they haven't sort of done much, and what's happened to them? They've all got sort of alcohol problems and drug problems, and haven't started a decent movie, and and there's little conversations about their breasts, the female actresses' breasts, and just I don't know. Some people are just so juvenile, seriously. The other things I didn't like about the movie is that some of the female actresses we didn't sort of see much of them. We didn't sort of see much of Vicky and Heather. Heather was a little bit more perhaps than Vicky, and no, a lot more sort of guy. I think we followed more the guys more than we sort of followed the females, which is a bit of a. I'm not quite sure why that was like. What was like that. I suppose that it's had to sort of cram everything else, cram it in all together, and read a bit of time, I suppose. Because I think you sort of got to try and balance, some of the you got to make it sort of funny, but you still got to make it sort of like not the first one. The first one was really sort of innocent, and it was really sort of a lot of sort of very sort of love in there as well. A lot of sort of awkward sort of teenagers, and not they didn't sort of know much about sex, so they was trying to chat. The guys were trying to chat the girls, and the girls were a bit sort of nervous about the whole thing. And but that was just really, I think it was just a really good sort of, wasn't all out just laughs and trying to be crass. It was actually a bit of heart in there as well. In the kind of like I don't want necessarily, I'm not in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to refer the American Pie movies to say to Twilight. I mean, if you watch the first Twilight movie, it's very, I found it just like, I don't know, they were really sort of bad acting, but I think it's more, I don't know if it was bad acting, but I think it was more, they're sort of, they're trying to act like sort of innocent, sort of awkward teenagers, and that's why also Belle and Edward, they're sort of really sort of trying to sort of suss each other out, and they're not really, at least in the first movie, anyway. But yeah, that's sort of worried. It wasn't necessarily a lot of the female characters in the movie, which is a bit disappointed. And some of needed a few more cameos, I think. Although everyone was there, but it was just some of the cameos were a bit too short, and that was a bit disappointing. But definitely a great movie. It's definitely, even though it's probably I thought it was perhaps necessarily probably the not necessarily the best one out of the whole four. It was definitely a great movie to watch, and so that's my little ramble on about the American Pie movies. If you want to leave some comments, that'd be great. If you've sort of seen a little bit, even just the last one, the reunion one, if you've seen that, leave a comment down below and tell me what you sort of thought about it. So that's my video. Till next time, I'll see you later. Bye.
You call that a Blu-ray? Now that's a Blu-ray.